Picture this. Almaty, Kazakhstan, January 5th, 2022. You're standing in your apartment. Fuel prices just doubled overnight. Protests are erupting across the city. You have 0.5 Bitcoin worth $21,000. You pull out your phone to convert some to cash. The screen loads and loads and loads. The government just shut down 95% of the country's internet. Your Bitcoin is worth $21,000. On paper. In practice, you can't access it. You can't spend it. You can't move it. The ATMs are empty. The banks are closed. And your neighbor who stacked cash under his mattress, he just bought 3 weeks of food. Bitcoin advocates claim it's collapse insurance. Portable wealth. 12 words in your head that let you walk across borders with your life savings intact. I performed the autopsy. The forensics are definitive. Bitcoin cannot function as collapse insurance. Not anti-crypto, pro-evidence. Music. Bitcoin has genuine utility for remittances, currency control, circumvention, speculative appreciation, but collapse insurance. Let me show you what the evidence actually says. Bitcoin requires internet. Internet requires electricity. Electricity requires grid infrastructure. Grid infrastructure requires political stability. You're not betting on Bitcoin. Music. You're betting on 4 layers of infrastructure that collapse in reverse order. Political stability fails first. Bitcoin fails last, which means it fails when you need it most. Kazakhstan wasn't an accident. It was deliberate policy. The government controls Kazakh telecom. Kazakh law explicitly permits authorities to temporarily suspend the operation of networks when officials deem communications damaging to the interests of the state. They flipped the switch. 95% internet shutdown, nearly a week duration. NetBlocks, the organization monitoring real-time internet connectivity globally, documented the pattern. 56 shutdowns in 2016, rising to 80+ in 2017, escalating to 155 documented blackouts in 29 countries by 2020. Syria, Gaza, Sudan, Afghanistan, Yemen. Pakistan selectively blocked Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Afghanistan's Taliban ordered fiber optic shutdown to prevent immorality. This isn't theoretical. Governments shut down internet when they face unrest. Bitcoin stops functioning the moment they flip the switch. Venezuela. 10% of the population holds crypto. 3 million people. Real adoption. Now, let me show you what they're actually using it for and what happens when they try to spend it. Bitcoin transaction fees reached $2.40 in May 2025. All-time high for the year. Venezuelan transit fare, 400,000 believers, equivalent to 20. The fee is 12 times the product value. You cannot build an economy where moving money costs more than the goods being purchased. Picture this. Caracas, Venezuela, 2023. You're a freelancer paid in USDT, Tether stable coins, because the believer became toilet paper years ago. You have $500 in your digital wallet. You need groceries. The Bodega accepts USDT through QR code payment. You scan it. Transaction fee $2.40. For bread that cost 80. You're spending 3 times the product value just to move the money. Your friend who kept US dollar bills in a shoebox. He hands over $1, gets his bread, keeps the change. Network congestion prices at the bottom 80% of transactions. When survival requires spending small amounts frequently, Bitcoin becomes economically irrational, not a bug, not a feature, a fundamental architectural dependency. Here's what the crypto evangelist won't tell you. Venezuelans aren't buying Bitcoin. They're buying USDT, Tether, dollar-pegged stable coins, not decentralized trustless money, just US dollars with extra steps. Turkey, 2023. The lira depreciated 81% against the dollar over 5 years. Trading volumes hit 34.9 billion in 6 months. 50% of the population participates in crypto markets. Sounds revolutionary until you look at which crypto USDT. They're not buying Bitcoin philosophy. They're buying dollar access when the government blocks traditional banking. The moment President Erdogan's government created regulatory clarity in 2024, crypto adoption didn't accelerate, it decelerated. The moment governments reduce currency restrictions, crypto adoption stabilizes. This wasn't adoption of cryptocurrency philosophy. This was circumvention of government currency controls. Tether CEO says it explicitly. Turkish citizens face daily currency depreciation of 3%. They're desperate for dollar access. Stablecoins provide that access, but Tether now has 536 million users globally, circulating 187 billion. And every single one of those dollars depends on 3 prerequisites that disappear during collapse. Functional exchanges, music, merchant acceptance, internet infrastructure. If you're realizing that Bitcoin's collapse utility has been drastically oversold, that the technology depends on the exact infrastructure that fails first during systemic breakdown. Hit that subscribe button. This is the Independent Financial Historian. I perform autopsies on financial narratives so you see the dependencies before they matter. Drop a helicopter emoji if you're positioning for infrastructure failure instead of betting on infrastructure resilience, and tell me what you want me to dissect next. This breakdown came directly from your comments demanding a forensic analysis of crypto during collapse. Not theory, evidence. Multiple comments asked, what about mesh networks and satellite broadcasting? Let me walk you through the forensics on why that's a fantasy. Blockstream satellite broadcasts the Bitcoin blockchain continuously via 4 geostationary satellites. A user with an inexpensive satellite dish can synchronize blockchain blocks independently of ISP connectivity. This represents genuine technical achievement. Now, let me show you why it can't scale to population-level transactions. The system operates one way. You can receive blockchain data, but cannot transmit transactions via satellite without ground station access. Gotenna built mesh radio networks relaying information person to person through short-range radio. Urban range 3 to 5 kilometers, bandwidth kilobits. Transaction settlement hours to days. A population can't conduct daily commerce at kilobit bandwidth when food requires immediate payment. The engineers at Blockstream admit these systems will hopefully never go mainstream. They describe them explicitly as fire drills for scenarios most payment networks treat as edge cases. Experimental resilience testing not designed for production financial infrastructure. In 2019, Rulo Novak transmitted Bitcoin from Toronto to Michigan using only ham radio. In 2016, Elenu established a Lightning Network payment over ham radio between Toronto and the Bay Area. These demonstrations proved technical possibility while simultaneously proving impracticality. Transaction settlement took hours. The system depends on volunteer radio operators maintaining infrastructure without economic compensation. Precisely the populations likely to flee during the conflicts that trigger internet shutdowns. Same dependency, different infrastructure, same outcome. One Ukrainian refugee, username LDV, escaped with Bitcoin on a USB drive during the February 24, 2022 invasion. 1 out of 5.8 million refugees in 10 weeks. That's 0.000017%. You know what we call a 0.000017% success rate in medical trials? We call it failure. 50,000 fled the first 48 hours. Banks suspended transfers. ATMs emptied. One documented case escaped with Bitcoin. One success story out of millions. This is survivor bias masquerading as evidence. Turkey-Syria border 2015. You're a family of 4 trying to reach Greece. The smuggler wants 4,000 euros, 1,000 euros per person. You have Bitcoin worth 4,500 euros. You show the smuggler your phone. Offer to transfer it. He laughs and walks away. The family behind you. They have gold coins sewn into their jacket lining. They're boarding the boat. You're still standing there with a smartphone. Showing a number the smuggler doesn't trust, can't verify, and won't accept. 1 million Syrians reach Greece. Smuggling networks extracted 1 to 3 billion. Legitimate ferry euro 10. Smuggler 1,000 euros, 10,000% markup. And every single one of them paid in cash or gold, not Bitcoin. El Salvador purchased 6,280 BTC, worth roughly $687 million as of February 2026. National Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. The government shifted holdings across 14 separate addresses, limiting each address to no more than 500 BTC to reduce exposure to quantum computing threats and improve privacy. This decision reveals an uncomfortable truth. Even a nation-state accumulating strategic Bitcoin reserves must treat the holdings as extremely valuable digital assets requiring extraordinary security measures. Cold storage, keeping private keys offline and air-gapped devices provides superior security against hacking. But here's the paradox nobody's confronting. How do you spend cold-stored Bitcoin if local vendors have no power? Using a cold wallet to purchase daily necessities requires physical access to the device, connection to internet-enabled computer, identification of merchant accepting Bitcoin, negotiation of exchange rates, completion of transaction. This process works for large and frequent purchases. It becomes economically irrational for spending on bread, medicine, or fuel. The security protocols that make cryptocurrency valuable as wealth storage make it inefficient as medium of exchange. Physical cash provides superior transaction fluidity. Cryptocurrency provides superior security for stored wealth. A population experiencing true systemic collapse simultaneously needs both high security and high liquidity. Cryptocurrency's architecture forces a choice. Cash requires no infrastructure. Gold requires no electricity. Bitcoin requires both. Here's the paradox that breaks the model entirely. Bitcoin works best when infrastructure is degraded but functional. It fails completely when infrastructure collapses entirely. Maximally useful in marginal dysfunction. Catastrophically useless in actual collapse. Venezuela with unreliable banks but working internet. Bitcoin provides genuine utility. Kazakhstan with no internet at all. Bitcoin becomes worthless. The exact scenario Bitcoin claims to solve is the scenario where Bitcoin stops functioning. Venezuela cryptocurrency accounts for 9% of $5.4 billion in remittances. That's $461 million in crypto-based remittances. Real utility. But the moment internet infrastructure fails, as net blocks documented in Gaza where 80% of northern structures lie destroyed, as happened in Kazakhstan when the government disabled 95% connectivity, that utility evaporates instantly. The low-tech solution outperforms the high-tech solution the moment infrastructure fails. Complexity is fragility. Simplicity is resilience. If you hold Bitcoin, I'm not telling you to sell it. I'm not telling you it's worthless. I'm telling you to understand what it depends on. Internet, electricity, merchant acceptance, functional exchanges. Stack those dependencies. Then ask yourself, in the scenario I'm preparing for, will those dependencies survive? Bitcoin ranks between paper and tangible capacity. Better than fiat, worse than food. It has genuine use cases. Remittances under capital controls, wealth preservation under confiscatory regimes, speculative appreciation during bull markets, just not collapse insurance. The data doesn't care about the narrative. One refugee of 5.8 million, $2.40 fees for 20 transactions. 95% internet shutdown, rendering millions of dollars inaccessible. These aren't edge cases. These are documented patterns. If this forensic breakdown gave you a new lens on Bitcoin's infrastructure dependencies, hit subscribe. This analysis was built entirely from your comments asking whether crypto actually works when the grid goes down. Drop a helicopter emoji if you're stacking the alternatives that work when infrastructure fails. And tell me what financial narrative you want autopsied next. The question isn't whether Bitcoin has value. The question is whether you understand what it depends on. Electricity, internet, merchant acceptance, exchange liquidity, and whether you're betting your survival on infrastructure that fails first during the exact scenarios you're preparing for.